Alrighty. Alright guys, so this is going to be a neat little video here. We've got this coming yearling. She is going to be a technical yearling in about 2 weeks. And she just dropped off here to us this morning. And I think right now it's right around noon. So she's been here about 5 hours. And we just had given her some hay over there where she's munching and give her some water. And so she came up, this is a little client horse, client bought this little filly. And so she hasn't really been handled. I really don't know much about it. We've got to get its feet done, we got to get its teeth done, we got to get it wormed. It just got picked up by the hauler. They backed 2 horse trailers to get the guy who had it before had loaded it, run her up into a trailer before they got there, so they weren't trying to load this thing and getting crammed on time. So he took some time, got her into a horse trailer, and they backed the 2 horse trailers together and then got her in the other one. So that's kind of, because she's not halter broke, and they really haven't done much of anything with it. And best I know is that it's obviously I think it's by an App stallion out of a racing quarter horse mare. That's where we're at with that. You know, make your own opinions after that. But so essentially what you're going to see here is we're going to go through this process of seeing if we can make some friends. And obviously being a client horse, there's 2 different ways I look at this. Is that being a client horse, I'm getting paid to do a job to get this horse halter broke, getting a basic foundation laid on the groundwork side of things that'll serve this horse for the rest of its life. And particularly if she ends up coming back to us or she goes to somebody else, as far as getting started under saddle when she's physically and mentally mature enough. But so we've got to get a job done, but we also want to educate you guys and show you guys. So this is kind of, there's a lot of ways you can do this. You could put them in a stall, you could leave them out in the field, you could do whatever you want. You could use a saddle horse, but I'm going to start off just by simply saying if we can get it caught. That's the job. We need to get this thing halter broke. So I'm just going to start in and just see how, she was really curious. I came in right before we started the video and got the camera set up, and I dropped all this stuff down. You can see she's really curious, but the guy said like he hasn't haltered it or anything, and so I might be able to rub on her, but my job here is to get this thing halter broke. And so of course we could do our round pin work, which you guys might have seen some of those videos, but I don't want to get her scared. Essentially, she hasn't probably seen a flag in terms of how we would use it, and she hasn't really seen a rope swung at her, and so I don't want to do anything really that's going to startle her anymore, because I want to get her caught. Now, if we have to go through that process, like I can show you guys how many misses I can get to get a horse caught. Okay, this is working out a little too well. But I'm going to see if I can just get her caught. And I haven't even met her. Literally, I helped the guy unload the horse, and then I had some other horses to go ride, so I haven't even watched this thing in here. We're just kind of going after it here. And so my point of saying we have a job to get done is I'm not going to skip the round pin work or anything like that. We're going to get that done. But the job while this filly is here is to get it caught and halter broke so you can lead it around and it can be essentially domesticated. And so I'm kind of watching her ears. She kind of has a tendency maybe to pin them a little bit, and so I'm going to give her every chance we can. And anytime she wants to come towards me, I will kind of back off, just basic approach and retreat. But I want to see if we can just get her caught without it being too much of a fuss. Obviously, she's been around people, like they've fed it to some degree and stuff like that. So she has some opinions, like she has some experience with people. It's not like she's never been around a person. But I'm just trying, essentially here, like I'm just trying to go with her. If this keeps up, then I certainly can go ahead and rope her. And some of you guys might go, oh, why are you gonna rope it? Like you could just do your round pin work. I find, like we've done the Mustang deals, and so she's a little sassy. And personal preference is I do all the round pin work to get my horses ready for a basic foundation, learning how to move off of pressure and everything. But I also like to get my hands on them and show them like that we're predators. Our eyes are close together. Everything about us reads predator even, and they're prey animals. So I kind of want to show her like, hey, I'm not in here to hurt you or anything. And that's why I took that halter first. I was like, maybe we can just kind of get lucky and get her caught and just kind of move on. Because here, if I start swinging this rope a little bit, I'm going to try to get it on her nice and smooth. There's no promises there. I don't rope a whole lot. I just rope when I have to, essentially. But this rope is energy, and so she could pick up speed. So really, when I catch her, I'd really like her to be like standing still, because it makes my life easier, or just walking. I don't want to get her running and banging into the panels. It doesn't mean she won't. And like I said, guys, like you're going to see it like it is. We're not going. All I'm going to do is going to put a title on this deal, and that's going to be it. But essentially, when she stops her feet, I'm going to stop swinging the rope, because I'm going to let her know that she's kind of in control of when this rope swings, and I want to be able to get pretty close to her, again, because I don't rope a whole lot. And like even when she comes to me, you know, she's not pinning her ears running at me, right? She's kind of got her ears forward like she's a little curious, so I'll back off. If she had pinned her ears and started walking to me, I'd kind of tell her to go back out to the other side. You know, that's not how we're going to start our relationship. And so part of the part I wanted you guys to see this too is because like this filly hasn't been messed with to the best of my knowledge. And so, hope you guys got that. And so we got her, and so now I'm just going to let her wear it, right? I'm not going to pull on her or anything like that. I don't want to startle her. And so, hallelujah, we caught the thing, guys. So now we're attached, right? And now I like to start halter breaking these horses. This rope doesn't have a knot on it. A lot of times I've got one for like little foals. We've got two mares getting ready to pop their due. I mean, I had to go check on them a little bit earlier because they're getting ready to bust. And we got one on there that has a knot, so it can't get super tight. This rope in particular has a metal Honda on it, which is the part where it slides up and down. So if I pull tight on it and I give rope back, it's going to give and take. And that's why when I start to halter, break, or train, or whatever you want to do these horses, I like that metal Honda because there's a release to it. So she just starts to follow that a little bit. There she goes. And so we'll see if we can send her. Now here, like now that I've got a lifeline, as Richard Winters calls it, if you guys ever seen some of Richard Winters' content, he calls it a lifeline, whether it's your rein or your rope attached to them when you have to rope them. And so here so she just kind of, I might step out in front and just see if I can turn her the other way without her getting all tangled up. So she might just be more comfy on this other side, and it's behind her hocks, which is great for her to get used to wearing it there, but so there I just kind of let her move around. This will be good because her owner can see kind of how we got her started here. And so I don't make a big fuss about anything in there. I kind of picked up on her. You guys probably had a pretty good angle on that. And there. So it's nice, her hocks are rolling over. She's kind of tossing her head. She's like, what is going on? I left my home last night, got to you this morning in a strange place. What are you doing, sister? I just get her forward. And so we're going to film. I can't say we're going to film every day of this. This is, like, we'll film today, of course, but then we'll kind of show you guys the process we'll go through of just getting these horses a good foundation for this yearling. There. So I'm looking for that. When you halter break horses, a lot of times people are worried about the front end because that's what you see coming forward. It's really important, it's about the hind end. You got to get the motor in behind. So when I'm picking up on this lead here, I'm really focused on getting those hindquarters to track up underneath her, because later on, I'm not going to ask her to lead forward right now. I'm just trying to get that inside hind foot each direction, because if I can get that inside hind foot to step like this and then step like this when I'm asking her to go, if she's coming to the right and I ask her to step up underneath, if I got it coming there, that means it's coming forward and up. I got her going to this other direction, and I can get her hindquarters to step like this, then eventually I can get it to come straight forward. And so I hope you guys like my dancing there, because that's kind of what it felt like. But so here we'll just kind of push her over, and I'm not gonna, like when I push her over, like I'm just feeding rope to her. I'm not gonna be in much of a big hurry, you know. Now there is the deal, like we back the trailer up to the door here. We backed the trailer up to the door, and so she can't live in here forever, right? So like I'd be able to get her in a stall. We've got to be able to lead her through the barn. So there, I'll just let her kind of, there, she starts to come off that pressure. She's just trying to sort all this out. She's like, I've never felt anything in my life like this. There, she starts to blink. And then I just kind of let her, that's okay. I'm not going to get too concerned about all that. And so, just kind of let her wear it. I'm just trying to get the Honda, there the Honda came across her neck. It was on the other side. I was just trying to get it closer to me so that when I do pick up on this, I'm pulling. She's getting indirect pressure. She feels the pressure on the other side of her neck. So now she's, let her lick and chew there for a second. You know, you got to give her the benefit of the doubt. This is a big change. She's just been wherever she's been in Tennessee somewhere, and just eating some feed, and that's about it, getting bigger. So now she's not going on the payroll, but we got to be able to get her feet done. We got to be able to get her teeth done. We got to be able to get her wormed. She needs to be safe to be around. She's not that big by any stretch. So I just kind of let her run into that. I'm not going to get into a tug of war with her, but I'm not. So I let the rope run, but I kind of kept just some sort of tension on this. And there's a big reason I like this, starting them with this lariat rope. So I'm waiting for the hindquarters. That was a small step. She gave me the front feet, but I was waiting for that hind foot to step under. So I don't have to like wheel her around when she takes off. I just let the rope run and I keep the tension, and she doesn't ever get a true release. She gets far enough away that she feels like she's going to be safe, but then the tension or the pressure stays there until we kind of start to get or look at a response that we're looking for. And so I'm starting to shorten up the distance between the two of us to try to help her. Like I want to be able to rub on her a little bit, but I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to work with her here and say, hey, you know, she's curious enough. She's just got to start to sort out. So there she walked off, and I let her, and I didn't give her any rope. I just let her run into there, hind quarter. I just let her go. And if she feels like she needs to go, that's fine. I got to be careful of my angles. There, just waiting on the feet. She's like, I don't know about that. There you go, little filly. So, just let her hang for a second. You know, to us, this is no big deal, because most of the stuff from the barn leads all right, at least, on some days. And so, but to her, this is a whole new concept. So I'm going to walk kind of like I'm walking past her going towards this barn here. And I'd like for her to kind of keep me faced up. And there she kind of looks off. I'm like, hey, can you bring your attention back over here? And I'd really like for those hindquarters to kind of roll across towards you guys. Just let her work at it. See, I'm not going to pull on her hardly anymore. I'm just going to kind of let, there's enough pressure there as there needs to be. And I'm just waiting. There's the feet. Everything, like I talk about this with client horses that are 4, 5, 6 years old, whatever. It's about the feet. And so, let's see if I can get her to come the other way there. And so even right now, we're starting it now. This is the gold mine, right? I love horses that haven't been hardly messed with. best of our knowledge. I love that that's the case, because I get to put that first impression on them and do the best I can with what I know at this point in my career and journey. And for her, it's not about her bobbing her head up and down and being silly. It's about these hind feet, or about these feet in general. So I just kind of let her work at some of that stuff. And so I just walk here, say, hey, I'm going to pick up just a little bit on this lead rope and see. And all the while, I'm kind of doing a couple things. Like I'm getting there, she goes. Took a little less this time. I'm starting to get closer to her. I'm starting to get a little bit of control of this inside hind foot. I like her little hind legs cocked. She's kind of cute for an Appaloosa, I guess. Don't take that the wrong way. You guys are going to eat me up in the comments, whatever. But we always joke around here. If you guys ever been to our barn, there's always one in the barn. I sent one home yesterday. This one came in today. I kid you not. So there you go. So that time she gave me her hindquarters and she felt like she kind of just had to leave. I didn't stop her from leaving. I just kind of put my hand around the lead rope, or on the, essentially it's a lead rope, around the lariat rope. And when she backed away from me, she ran into pressure, and I just held it steady and let her work at it. And she shifted her feet around a little bit. Y'all can go and rewind it and watch it again. And just let her kind of sort that out. And then she came forward, and when she came forward, she put slack in the line herself. So I just gave a lesson this morning with an owner, and that's what we were talking about, is that we're teaching these horses how to keep the slack in the rope, because they don't want it to go tight. There. So it's like, what can this little horse do to put slack? There, she stepped back, right? So I just closed my fingers on that and said, hey, if you back away, you might run into a little bit of pressure. I'm not trying to keep her. Like if she took off backwards, like I'm gonna let her go. I'm not gonna try to hold her here. She's not that big, but she's way more than I do. So walk towards these hindquarters here. I'm just slightly picking up on this rope, and I'm just focused on this hind end. And if I had a saddle horse, and there's a lot of purpose. You guys are like, oh, why you put a rope around its neck? Well, how the hell are you gonna catch it? You know, you can put it in a stall. That's fine. I think you can. I mean, I'm not against that, but you know, the thing is that there's a lot of folks that you might use like a Liberty starter. You might do a lot of round pin work and wait till the horse's idea for it to let you touch it. Say that 10 times fast. But the thing is that there's a fine line between giving the horse the time that it needs, which we always try to do, and we got to get a job done. So I don't have all day to train this horse every day. You know, I've got a whole other barn full of them. And you guys at home might have foals hitting the ground, or yearlings or weanlings that need a tune-up on how to lead. You probably have to work for a living, most of us, and you don't have all day to go to the barn and mess with it. But you might have, you know, I got like about an hour or so. This little filly right now won't need quite an hour. You know, I would need to be able to get close enough so I can get this rope off of her and touch her a little bit. But that's looking pretty dang good. And so you might have 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the barn in the evenings. And with your young horses like this, that's all they really need. It's just quality time. And so, you know, I put a rope around her, and now I'm starting to get some things done. I'm starting to get her to teach how to yield her hindquarters over, how to respond to pressure, how to be okay with me being this close to her. And I'm not just sitting here yakking to talk to you guys, but I'm giving her a little time just to kind of digest what she's just did, because that was really good. Essentially what I'd really like in what she did, she pivoted on that front left foot and walked her hind end around and moved all 3 feet. And so I couldn't be more happy with that and how that went. And so if she'll let me, I'll try to just ease up here a little bit and just see if I can slide my hand up this lead rope. There, she's a little unsure. I might just back my hand off just a little bit. I'm not pulling on the rope at all. I'm there in case she tries to really leave, that she could run into a little bit of pressure, to see if I can convince her to stay.
And so she got the one ear on me and the other ear's kind of off in the distance. I might back off and see if I can step to the side. I'd really like for her just to, there, her eyes cut back towards me. I just pick up on that rope just a little bit. She knows, she kind of has a bit of an idea right now how to come off that. You can see I can pick up here and she comes back. She's just not so sure. So there I just kind of let her work at it a little bit. There, she stepped a little bit forward. Just kind of waiting on the feet to relax there. So she didn't actually move, but her weight, she was rocked back on her hocks and she was like, no, 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 no. And then she eased off and leaned forward. Her feet didn't actually make it that time, but she leaned. And she put the slack back in the rope and I made it a bigger release by just completely letting go, and my energy went way down. There, just a small touch. So I just kind of bring her back a little bit. And I'm not naive. I wouldn't doubt when this thing was a wee little squirt that they probably rubbed on it if the mare was docile enough to get close enough to it. So, but I am approaching this horse like, since she's probably been weaned, or at least a little bit bigger, and once she was kind of not coming into a stall, hell, she could have been born outside for all I know. But until they were just kind of like, oh, okay, it's fine, we're not going to mess with it anymore. That's probably the last time it was really messed with to any certain degree. I'm not going to say that it's never had human hands on it. It came out of a domesticated situation. That's enough rubbing for her for now. And I'll walk this way. I really like that she's looking this way because they're going to go where they're looking, and I'm just going to wait on her and see the way that this is lined out. You guys can't really see it, but the way the Honda is, it's got this lead, it's got this rope right across the middle of her face here, and it wasn't really on design, honestly. It was just the way the Honda is sitting on her neck on the other side. And so right now this rope is about the middle of her nose where your nose band would be on your halter. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to leave it right there. So if she kind of pitches her head into it, you might see her like have a bit of resistance. It could rear up. It could do whatever it does because she hasn't had the pressure across her nose yet. But I can use it to my advantage to just set her up, because this would be like a lateral flexion to the right with an inside leg going on. And yes, at this point I'm thinking about that. So she just kind of ducked her nose over the top of it. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. If it would have led to her moving her feet, that would have been great. So now she put her head back down, so I might try to just keep it right there. I'm keeping it low because otherwise it's going to be hitting her in the eye. But I might just tap my coils here just a little bit and see if I can get some energy there. That's okay. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it's not bad. What do you think about the camera? So there, she's following a little bit. She's not bending quite so much, but she's following. Which not too long ago, she was probably pretty good at that with her mare, her mama. So there's a little bit of pressure on this rope here, and I'm just letting her come off of it. And right now I'm just letting her know, hey, if you move your feet, you're going to find a release. Then later on, we'll get a little more particular about what that looks like as far as where she's going to move her feet. But we'll just give her a second here to lick and chew and hang out. And some of you guys might be wondering, oh, is this any faster, slower, different than what it would be if this camera wasn't rolling? And I'd say it's probably a little bit slower because I'm busy running my mouth, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't do anything different. I probably would just be a little more, not necessarily active, but I would probably just be a little more in the moment, and I'm right here focused on this horse, but I'm also trying to walk you guys through it at the same time. And there she goes. And so there she just kind of went to back out of there. She went to back out a little bit, and I didn't pull on her. I just kind of let her take the slack out herself, and then let her work out how she was going to get out of it. And so even from this point, she goes, I'm not quite ready. Even from this point, I'm not really going to baby her too much. I'm understanding that she doesn't know a whole lot. And so I'm just going to walk towards her hindquarters and be like, hey, can you yield away from me? So here's a situation where she can make a decision. It wouldn't surprise me if she just went forward. I'd really like for her hindquarters just to sneak towards you guys. They're kind of pivot on this forehand. But she's got to figure out where she thinks she can move to. And she's going to do whatever she thinks is easiest. So there she felt like she had to kind of go forward, and then the slack in the line came out and her hindquarters came around. So she's like, what the heck happened? But there was pressure, she made a decision, and then it was set up for her to figure out afterwards. I'm not going to sit there and try to make her do it. So we'll do the same thing again this way. I'll walk this way, take the lead rope there. So that time I just took the slack out. I'm going to kind of block her. She's kind of turning her head too much to keep me from coming over here. And so I'm just going to extend my hand, use these coils like a longer version of my arm to help me keep a presence on this side. And she might just rock forward there, see how her head comes around. Now the chances are a little bit better that she might actually make this turn with her hindquarters. So here I'm going to, now you guys can kind of see, she kind of moved her head to my advantage, and I just took that lead rope up across the middle of her nose. And that would be a little bit of an introduction to how that halter is going to feel on her nose. And she kind of just moved herself to where it set that up for me. But I'll leave that side alone for now. And I might actually, if she'll let me, we'll take this rope just under her chin, and I might just walk this way. And that's what I was saying earlier, that they might try to, that's a different pressure. They haven't felt that before. But I do my best to try to keep it on there. And then she went forward, had her little deal that she went through there, and then she actually made the turn and looked back at me. So this rope right here is very diverse in the fact of how we can utilize it. You know, we can get them, they're very, you can tell, I'm not even touching her whiskers. Her whiskers aren't even that long. But I could use this to kind of rub on her and to kind of keep her head here, so I can actually, now I'm actually like kind of firmly rubbing on her. And then I could take this lead rope and just kind of ask her like, hey, can you bring your head this way? And she's like, well, I kind of can, but then I'm gonna have to have a little bit of a fit over it. And so she's gonna get used to that rope coming up like that, just like the halter would. It'd be kind of bop her on the nose maybe by accident when somebody goes to halter. But there. So I'm going to kind of let her, so there she has a moment where she'll stay, and then she doesn't, I'm going to ask just to take another step so that she runs into that halter, or to that lead rope there, or the lariat rope, excuse me, so that she can actually feel it. Because usually the first step she kind of does pretty good, and she doesn't quite feel it. So there she feels it, and then she moves away. That's important. I talk a fair bit recently at clinics and lessons and stuff that we can do so much with our body language and stuff to get these horses to do it, but we can't leave out the physical element that we're going to pick up on a rein, we're going to put our leg on them and all that stuff. And the horses have to actually be responsive of that. In this case, we're going to put a halter on this horse, and we might pull it unintentionally, or it might run into that at some point. I could go probably sneak a halter on this thing, and then we could go through that feeling there. But this is something that could be much bigger later on, as far as us not maybe bumping them in the side before we get on them for the first ride, and the horse not not really having a feeling for the sensation of having the leg on them. And so then you go to get on for the first time, and now you got a damn rodeo on your hands, because now you bumped him in the sides, thing gets offended, kicks at your leg, bucks you off into the ground, and now you're like, what the hell is your problem? When it was probably the fact that you missed something in the initial lead up to that. So this, and for the sake of halter breaking, could be, just basically having this rope across your nose there and saying, hey, can you learn to yield to the physical pressure of what that halter is going to eventually feel like? She doesn't know what a halter is, right? She don't know what that feels like. I'd just like for her to step up underneath a little bit. She's backtracking, like she's backing out of this a little bit, and I'd like for her to walk forward a little bit. So I'm walking behind her tail. I'd like for her to actually track that shoulder up. See how the front right shoulder is backing away? And so she's not being bad, she's a little unsure. And I'm walking with a fair bit of energy. Here would be a better chance for me to get kicked for one, but for two, for her to try to, on the other side, she's a little more apt to walk forward. That's okay. So you don't make a big fuss about it, otherwise you teach them to run through pressure, right? You just don't give them anything to run into at all right now. And so I'll just take this. So what I can do is I'm walking up here. She's like, oh, I got a release. I'm like, you did, but that wasn't what I wanted. So I'm not gonna make a big fuss about it. There. Now we're back to where we were. We're no further behind, but there, and then that. So that time I was a little more forward and moving towards the back of her shoulder, which drove her shoulder forward and drove her into this rope, which then gave us the opportunity to see how she's going to respond. Was she just going to root through it, rear up, run off, and she actually bent around. So I got two things done. I kind of got to be able to push her forward for one of the first times there. It's okay. So that time, that was cute. That's okay. See, all this stuff is stuff we got to work through. Where are you going? So, yeah, you might try to bite me, huh? We don't need any of that. So they're cute, they're young, they're adorable. She has a little bit of an eye to me, like she might try to reach out and she might consider reaching out and trying to bite you. And that's not too desirable. But at this point, essentially what was going through my head here and why I'm picking up this halter is, hope this isn't too big for your head. We don't deal with too many yearlings right now. But what is I could keep on for the sake of the camera, and I could keep on kind of showing how we would go about doing this whole deal with the lariat rope. And I think we have some videos maybe out there regarding groundwork with the lariat rope. And I'm a big fan of getting these horses started with that. And so, but also, I'm just gonna rub on her. You're okay. People aren't bad, I promise. And so, but I've also, like I said in the beginning of this whole deal, I also have to get a halter on this filly. And we're not going to leave the halter on her. I don't take the lead rope off of this particular setup. And so because we got life skills to teach. That was my fault. I bumped her in the neck with the end of this halter tie rope. And so you'll notice it looks like I'm kind of tiptoeing here. I'm just trying to get the job done. And so I'm not going to try to make a big fuss out of it, but you guys, this is some of the stuff that you guys don't always get to see, because a lot of times in the DVDs and stuff like that, we're showing the ideal situation, what you're after, and then sometimes, like particularly in our content, you'll find that we show you guys how to get there with certain horses that haven't been there before. And so we're trying to show you different levels, and you can find where your horse fits, whether it looks just like one of the horses in the video or somewhere in between. But also, like, if we got a contract to start a lot of colts, or if I have a horse in for an extended period of time, then there becomes getting the job done. And so this is the part where we get the job done. You know, like I use the lariat rope to help catch her and get her ready. And now I've got, like I said, what Richard would call a lifeline on her. And now we can kind of, I'm not gonna have to tiptoe around her so much. And so we can kind of get into, I'm not gonna try to pull her forward, because that's how they lock up in behind. But I might try to get that little tail of the rope under control here, so she doesn't have something else that's kind of giving her a fit. All this is new for her. And so if it was one of your horses, you guys could probably be like, oh, that was pretty good for the day. You know, she'll probably stay in the round. She'll stay in here tonight, but maybe not. We might get her in the stall, we'll see. But you can see here now, like I don't have to worry about keeping that rope over her neck. And so now I can kind of work through some stuff. And you guys are like, oh, that's not, you know, too pretty. Well, this is just resistance. It's going to show up some way, somehow. Try to keep her out of that lariat rope. We don't need to work on roping the hind feet just yet. So that's why she's just a little more sticky in this right shoulder. So I'm just kind of pushing her over, saying, hey, can you push over? So that time she kind of, see how she reared up and started walking off? If you guys replay that, you'll see I just fed rope to her. There. Hindquarters. So I'm not trying to ask her to do anything. Right there. And now she moves her shoulders away. The horses need to learn how to yield a bit. And so, share a joke with you guys. You got a treat here. She's probably had some, she goes, I'm not in the mood for your food. That's okay, little filly. That's okay. And so, just get her good about her nose. We got to get her warmed, right? We got to be able to rub on her nose and her mouth. Why don't you step this way so the camera can see how you're kind of trying to be naughty. And so, there. And so, you guys ever seen the series called The First Week? It's got Joe Walter, Brian, and Jim Newbert on it, and I think I want to say it's Brian. He had some pellets in his pocket, and he pulls it out to give to one of those little mares, and she was kind of doing what this little filly's doing here, and he's like, well, you just got to show her what happens to horses that don't want to be caught, referring to he's going to turn them into a pellet. But of course we know that's not the case. But guys, if you don't have a sense of humor in this deal, you're going to end up sending it to somebody who does, because you're going to get yourself into a bind. And the only way you guys anyone really has much of a chance in this whole deal is to have a sense of humor and a little bit of patience, because it's what it takes. So she's going to realize here in a second, she had it in her mouth and she spit it out. And so Surely to goodness she's had some sort of grain before. I know. All right, that's okay. But she hasn't been on any feed since she's been here, so I just kind of, for this, it's just like making friends a little bit. You guys are like, she's not really too out. She don't know. So I'm gonna kind of push her over a little bit because she just went to kind of use her head to kind of say screw off, which, I mean, okay, so we can't blame her, but because she was getting a little bit annoyed with the idea of me putting something in her mouth. But here's the thing, your horse might get annoyed about something, and your horse might be 5 or 6 years old, and its idea of telling you to screw off might be buck you off. Starts right there. That's what it starts with, is something small where they just kind of say, no, I don't want to. She can keep spitting the pellet out. That's fine. But there's certain things because of them being in a domesticated environment that just don't work. And we certainly have to listen to our horses and everything. And yeah, certainly she wasn't all too keen with that idea of eating the pellet. But there's certain things that aren't always ideal in life, and we got to work with our horses to go, okay, you just got to kind of roll with it here, because not everybody's going to give you the fair shake as far as whether this filly stays with this owner that just bought her for an extended period of time and forever, or she gets sold and she ends up somewhere else. She might end up in the hands of somebody who may not give her just the perfect ideal feel. And so that was something that's taken me a while as someone that trains horses for the public to become. I'm not even really okay with it. I think everybody should just get better. But I have to be realistic in the fact that not everybody cares enough to really get just perfect, and we can't, if we expect these horses to weed those kinds of people out, then these horses are going to end up in bad situations because they're not truly properly prepared to deal with those sorts of situations. So we kind of have to show them how they can roll with it. And there's a couple things that people have that horses don't have, but one of them we've learned is that we have thumbs, and they don't have thumbs. And thumbs are great because we can rub them, and she's got some winter coat here, and we can rub them and get them good and itchy down. We always joke with the Mustangs that the itchier they are, the faster they break in, because the faster you can get them going and they come around as they start to learn that you can rub on them. Now I'll just kind of walk off here and see if she can sort out her feet. So there she kind of just locks up. Just kind of let her work at it a little bit. I'm not going to pull on her. If anything, I can go to the side and say, hey, if you can just kind of figure out how to get your feet loose. Because they feel the physical pressure on their head, but it's not about their head. It's about them moving their feet. A lot of times you see horses that pitch their head, but they slow their feet down. If they just kept their feet going, their head wouldn't have to change. And she's coming around pretty quick. I'll say that, and she'll reach around and try to bite me or something. Nah, she's all good. Maybe give her a little pat. And so you got to be cognizant when you're dealing with these kinds of horses. Like, a pat isn't natural. You know, them getting rubbed on like their mama's licking them is. But you got to pat one. It'll raise their blood pressure up. It'll get them a little concerned, and they got to get used to it, but you just got to be cognizant that if you're trying to give them what you would think would be a feel-good thing, that patting on them may not be the thing to do right now. You just got to kind of gauge what kind of pony you got. She's got some pretty good woolly stuff. She's pretty muddy up underneath her belly. We got a lot of rain in this area. So here she kind of just stalls out. I just kind of like to move her shoulders over there. And so what you'll notice is, and at least what I'm going to notice is, because I've done it enough times, is that even though I haven't done necessarily my round pin work with this filly yet, as far as like sending her out, and and sending her out and like getting her to hook on and all that other stuff that is important, because now I've been able to kind of get up to her and rub on her and everything like that, it'll be the sooner that we're able to turn her out into a paddock and for her to get turned out and get into a herd situation, and none of us have time to go try to catch a horse for an hour. I don't care whether you do this for a living or you don't. No one looks forward to getting to the farm to go catch a horse that don't want to be caught, because you can't catch a horse that isn't ready to be caught. So what we're doing is we're kind of giving her some of the skills, and as far as the leading goes, but also getting some mental rapport with her, that she'll be easier to get caught, and that when she's not quite ready, that we have so she doesn't want to yield this direction, and when she does, she just wants to get real stiff and kind of go off. I'm just working on getting this hindquarter up underneath her and just saying, hey, you need to go and move that shoulder that way. And when you do, see, she's just all on her own. And then when I'm just going with the hindquarters. I just want her to move out and then get her hindquarters and come back to me. But she gets a little stuck on this side, a little pushy. I almost want that shoulder to go towards you guys, and then when she does, I'll just let her go, and then I'll take the slack out of the rope. But you can notice she's got a little bit of a mental side where she's like, maybe she's a little more confident in pushing some things around on this side. And so I want her to she finds relief when she goes out there. She finds relief, and then she finds something she already knows, which is we've already worked on the basics of getting those hindquarters to yield. But she's got to work through this little mental part, and then she doesn't know what that means yet. And so I say, hey, you need to move over there. There. She knows how to yield, I'm assuming she was in the field with another horse, but even into some natural degree, they know how to yield. And that's why a lot of times getting them in a herd setting will help them, because unless they're like the lead one, horse like this wouldn't be all the time. So I was a little quicker. I didn't let her get quite as far, because she kind of cocked that hip towards me like she might try to kick. And so that was a little better. But she just wants to sling that head and not move that shoulder. And so I'm not too worried about, I'm focused on the feet. She can flip her head and do whatever she wants to. But see, the feet went the wrong direction. So so I tap, see that, like right there, we'll get this sorted out, and that will way lessen the chance of this horse having like a rear end problem under saddle. But see, that shoulder is so locked, and it's more of a mental thing on her end that she doesn't want to move it. And she wants to back out all the time. And so, try not to get her foot caught in the rope. She's got it right around there. I was just trying to get her foot out from that rope there. So I'm gonna use this flag here. This will kind of give her a little encouragement to move out. Something a little different for if one thing's not working. The definition of insanity is sometimes doing the same thing over and over. So I just want her to go forward there. Good. And so already her expression's completely different, right? And I don't want to have to whack her. I started having to tap her there at the end with the end of the lead rope. I don't want to have to do that. If I brought this flag out and she just blew sideways and was running around, then I might go to that lunge whip that wasn't so much energy off this flag. But I just want her to move. So she tries to back out there, and I just, this gives her something to pay attention to. There she goes forward. Go forward. Go forward. You're racing quarter horse spread. Go forward. Go forward. See, she doesn't want to move that shoulder too much forward. There, go forward. When you go forward, you get relief. Go forward. Now, go forward. There, go forward. Go forward. There. Ah, my fly came off. So what happens when you use things. My grommet came out a couple days ago, so I had to tie this on. I just need to get a new flag, but so I'll just kind of bring her out here off the fence a little bit. Fence was kind of helping me just a tad bit because she couldn't drift any bit more. Just move your feet. She just wants to lock up on this side, and see that she pivots on that left front, or the right front, excuse me. So I want to drive that foot there. I just want to drive that foot forward. She wants to take her head away, which means that her hindquarters could come towards me, and her and I, gosh dang it. So I just made a little bit more energy off myself there to kind of make that happen. There. Now the hindquarters. So just let her rest on that for a second. But you guys at home, we all want to, if you have something you can't hardly catch or whatever, you know, we've been working with her for a little bit, and I'm going to wrap up here in a second. I just want to try this one or two more times and say, hey, can we try to get those hindquarters? Thank you. Now move your shoulders, get off there a little bit. Got to get the forward first. There. So there's a lot of focus on getting the horse's hindquarters in the natural horsemanship world, but we also got to start getting their shoulders. And I've noticed that a lot of times people, they get really good at getting the horse's hindquarters, but then they have a hard time getting their horses to go forward. And that's where this starts. As you guys can see how I started with the hindquarters where the engine is, and already in just a matter of probably what, 30, 45 minutes that we've kind of been tinkering here, that she's already kind of got sticky in the shoulders. because she's going back to using just utilizing those hindquarters to go around. So they catch on really quick. So that's why I've gone ahead and progressed into what would be some basic groundwork circles of starting with the hindquarters, saying, hey, can you move those over? Now we got the engine moving, but can you keep those shoulders going forward? And so with these flags, it's important that you can also rub them down with them. And that you can, that's one way to get some forward, huh guys? Right? That you can rub them with it. I'm gonna lay down. Oh, this is driving me crazy. This wouldn't happen, guys, but we're out of flags in inventory too, so it's not like I can go steal one out of there. So we're just kind of using what we got here, and it just keeps sliding off. But I might make her, I want to move off before I try to rub her legs down with it a little bit, just because I don't want to be between her and the fence if she tries to kick at it. Just move your feet. There you go. So when she starts to get unsure, when I'm like behind her elbow, I'm not going to keep going further. I just kind of retreat and then come back and then go back up here and rub her and then come back down. I mean, all things considered, her feet aren't in like terrible condition, but with a young horse, you certainly want to make sure that you're getting, they've got good balance. They're not putting too much stress on the tendons and those sorts of things. But see, like I walk towards her and she doesn't move away. And I move towards her with a bit of energy, like, hey, you're kind of in my space here. And that's, you know, if a horse in the field did that and they meant it, they'd either bite, kick them, strike them, do whatever. And this little filly on this particular side, and I just kind of walk up to her and say, hey, well, you kind of get out of here. Like, I got to get to the other side. She's not too apt to make some preparations. And that's important because say you're a few years down the road and you're riding the thing and something happens, somebody in the arena gets bucked off and you got to kick your horse in the belly and you got to get out of town before you end up in the middle of a wreck, and your horse doesn't make preparations to go with you or to yield to whatever you ask them to do, then you could end up in a big problem. And so our intention and the way we present it to the horse is really important. In particular, like if I'm walking here and I'm like, hey, we got to get over there, she's got to start to learn to make some preparations to how to yield herself. And it's not always, I want to prepare her for the unexpected and a thought process of how to deal with that. And so sometimes it's not always going to be like, we have the perfect footing with the perfect level and we have the perfect amount of time and, you know, life is perfect and all these things. Like, no, like sometimes you got to get something done and you've got to be able to, and your horse has to be able to hang in there with you. And so like little stuff like that will help prepare the horse a little bit to be ready for that kind of stuff. So that's all I'm going to do with her right now. I'm on the fence on whether we want to put her in a stall or not. I think we'll leave her in here at least one more day until tomorrow, and we'll see where she's at from there, and we'll probably definitely be able to kind of lead her back and forth and get her to where she can start to come in the barn, and we'll turn her out here and for a little bit and eventually get her where we turn her out in the field and catch her. And so Yep, so there you go, guys. That's what we got for you today, and we'll keep you guys posted on this process, but that's the first little session with this little Palomino filly here, or Palomino blanketed at, whatever you want to, A, triple E, double E, whatever the letters she gets for her color, homo gorgeous thing, that whatever she may be. Michelle, don't take that the wrong way. I just don't have a damn bit of a clue, to be honest with you. But so yeah, we'll keep you guys posted and just kind of show you guys. This is the raw, real deal. You know, obviously it's unedited, and my mouth is sometimes unfiltered. But you guys kind of get what you get, and this is what we enjoy doing, is working with you guys and helping you guys be able to make sure you go home with your horses and have the best of success with them. And so we're gonna wrap things up. I'm just gonna kind of be done, and so we'll call that good for this little filly today, and let us know what you think we can call her. I think I'm gonna call her Gertrude. Michelle, I'm writing it on her stall, by the way. I think we'll call her Gertrude or Greta or something like that, but if you guys have a better idea, let me know. So, good job, filly. All right.